Alright, hello everyone. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another movie review. So, for today, we are reviewing one of my absolute favorite movies ever, and that is The Truman Show. Now, as always, I'm not professional. I'm not a professional movie reviewer, just a man who enjoys a good time. And I definitely had a good time watching this movie. Probably, like I said, probably one of, if not my absolute favorite movies. It's for not the traditional reasons because it's like action and all that, and not because like there's some funny lines and stuff. In fact, there's very little in terms of comedy here, but it's a movie that makes you think and makes you contemplate life and your surroundings and things like that in a way that in a way that's a little weird, but the movie pulls it off. The premise of the movie is very odd, and on paper, it seems like it almost seems like a concept that shouldn't work, that wouldn't work in almost any other movie. It's a concept that's a little weird, but they definitely managed to pull it off here, and they definitely make it look fantastic here in this movie. So let's get into it. Obviously, for those of you who have seen my movie reviews before, you kind of already know how this works. But for those of you who haven't seen it, I'm gonna go over what I liked and what I didn't like about the movie, and I guess I kind of tip my hat a little bit because here the pros definitely outweigh the cons. It's definitely a movie I recommend you check out. To the point where I probably can't even find that many uh, things wrong with the movie. It's more of like something I would have liked to see with the movie, but still, let's get into pretty much me gushing about how great this movie is because it honestly is a fantastic movie. And one of those things, and one of the reasons why, like I said, is the premise. So essentially, the premise, in a nutshell, is that there's this character, Truman, who is a real person living in this artificial world, but he doesn't realize it. Essentially, his life is a 24/7, 365 TV show. Oh, and the TV show pretty much is his life. Everyone surrounding him are actors, and a lot of scenarios are manufactured for him. None of it is real and everything. And he's pretty much stopped at every turn from discovering the truth until eventually things start to snowball where her events lead to each other, and that leads Truman to figure out exactly what's going on. So he eventually escapes, especially to go after the woman that he actually loves, not like the person that they set up to be his love interest slash wife in the show, but someone he actually genuinely was in love with. He essentially goes after, and that's why he wants to leave the his home of Sea Haven Island, which is the fictional setting for the movie. He wants to go to Fiji, pretty much because that's where her her dad said they were taking her because she tried to say try to tell Truman the truth that everything was a lie and that none of it is real. It's all a manufactured TV show and everything. And then this guy steps in, who claims to be her dad, saying like she's crazy and everything. In which, so, to be fair, she does sound crazy at first, but she's telling the truth. But so they go about to Fiji, and so Truman wants to go after her, and he wants to explore the world. He's always wanted to explore the world, well, ever since he was a child, and at every turn he stopped because obviously if you go a certain point in this like massive structure, eventually you're gonna run out of room. It's like a big type of dome, almost like a thunderdome home type thing with Truman here. The set for the Truman Show, always like this big Thunderdome type thing, and they have, of course, the weather elements and stuff to try to mimic like real life, and that's how they keep him in there essentially. And as I've mentioned before, and I'm gonna mention it again, and because it's so fantastic what they do with this premise. It's a very weird premise, and I'm sure, or for those of you who haven't seen the movie, hearing me explain it, which my explanations for it is not going to do it justice, I'll be honest, but hearing my explanation, you might be like, what? 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 It's like a guy, but it's not really. He's like an artificial life. What? That's weird. And it is, like I said, it's a weird premise, but they make it work so well. And part of that is the actors. It stars Jim Carrey, which this is a bit of a change up for the norm for Jim Carrey. This is not a comedy type role. This is more like a suspenseful type role for him. And this movie proved that he could do both. That he could pull off the the whole like uh, suspense and serious tone and everything, and make it work. Right, because his mannerisms as he's like slowly going insane and everything, it's fantastic, and he's able to pull off the emotions pretty well, so to the point where you almost forget how good of an actor he truly is by all his comedy roles. Now, nothing wrong with his comedy roles. In fact, I love a lot of them, and it's one of the things that made him famous. But yeah, this is definitely a change of the norm for him. And essentially, the actors are surrounding Truman here. Are, it's essentially actors playing actors, which again shouldn't work, but it does, and it looks fantastic. And absolutely, it's absolutely wonderful how they pull off the roles and everything. And what makes them even more, and what kind of cushions them is the fact that it is a set and that they are actors being actors. So essentially, if there's like nervousness and stuff and messing up stuff, it could be excused as, oh, they're actors pretending to be other actors, so they're trying to act and everything. And some of them do slip up and kind of lead a breadcrumbs trail of Truman finding out the truth. But ultimately, uh, ultimately, the actors try their best as to keep the ruse going and everything. And when it comes to this movie and everything, well, the show and everything, and look it up here to make sure I don't forget anybody in this wonderful cast. Of course, you got Laura Linney as the love interest, Meryl, who is not the one that Truman's like chasing after, but instead it is like the one that they manufacture for the show, and in the show she actually ends up leaving him, and her acting is fantastic. She definitely pulls off that like a condescending, talking down to Truman type role, and she's like absolutely perfect for it. I'm sure she's probably a nice person in real life, but yeah, you kind of almost hate her in this role. Well, again, I'm sure she's a nice lady. And of course, Ed Harris as Kristoff, the man behind everything, and essentially the creator of the show and everything. And uh, Ed Harris was actually nominated for an Oscar for this role, which, to be fair, he ended up losing to Roberto Benigni for Life is Beautiful, which that is completely understandable. Well, if you don't understand why, then and do yourself a favor, go watch Life is Beautiful. Definitely a tearjerker of a movie. You may, no, you likely will cry at that movie because it's such a fantastic movie. But Ed Harris does a really wonderful job here as Kristoff. And even though he doesn't really get a whole lot of screen time until like towards the end, as Truman started to figure things out and everything, and he still pulls off the role really well. How he's like this mastermind, and how he's like this obsessive and compulsive guy who wants to control everything, in pretty much every aspect of Truman's life, and pretty much wants to keep Truman in this cage and everything, in this prison. And the love interest Sylvia, she he, she he they cut back to her every now and then, and as the world is watching Truman, which I'll get to, but she's pretty much actively trying to get Truman out and everything, trying to expose Kristoff and get the Truman Show shut down, because it's immoral, it's unethical. You're pretty much lying to this guy. You're pretty much concocting this false world, and you're essentially keeping him prisoner there. You're not really letting him leave. He set up a fear of water or through a accident that happened in his childhood with his father dying, and his father later reappears on set, and they like carry him off and everything. They like rush to get him off, and Truman. I think that is when Truman really starts to piece together what's going on and everything, and continues to snowball from there. And there's other stuff such as like the elevator, or at one point looks like a regular elevator, but then when Truman goes to open it again, it looks like a set, like a movie set, and Truman's like confused and everything. And then the two guards like rush him out of the building, and then what starts the whole thing is one of the stage lights falls to the ground, and I do like how they try to cover up everything within the movie. They try to say like when the stage lamp falls down, they say, "Oh, parts of an airplane were shedding," and then and Truman accidentally gets some audio of them pretty much following him because there's pretty much cameras everywhere. They're following him. And then they try to say, "Oh, it's a police broadcast and everything." So the amount of stuff they try to cover up uh, really keeps things going, and it's pretty interesting the lengths they go to keep it covered up. And I think that's what makes it so compelling is the fact that you're sitting there thinking, "Wow, this is really messed up. What they're doing here. This is really messed up. How they're pretty much monitoring every aspect of Truman's life. How there's essentially no privacy in his life, and everything's being broadcast at, uh, at like every minute of every day and everything." And they're essentially, like I mentioned, they're essentially lying to him. They're essentially trying to keep him there. They're preventing him from leaving because essentially once he's gone, the show shuts down. But uh, they're keeping him there. They're going through so much lengths to keep him there. And meanwhile, you got people like Sylvia uh, trying to get him out and everything. And then we cut to several shots of like people watching the Truman Show from around the world, well, from several different countries, pretty much being excited to see Truman and everything he goes through. But then all of a sudden at the end, they're all happy and stuff because he's out. He does escape at the end, and finally he like outsmarts everyone. He outsmarts the camera crew and everything, and manages to get to the exit of the dome. And then Kristoff, pretty much as like a last resort, talks to him directly, but Truman still ends up leaving anyway. So he does escape the dome, which is fantastic. And then it can be implied from there, because that's where the movie ends. It can be implied that he went to live a normal life. We see Sylvia leaving her house to, I'm guessing, go pick up Truman and everything and reunite with him. And it's such a wonderful send off. And uh, like I said, and also like I said, a lot of what I'm saying, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but it's mainly because I love this movie so much, and there is a lot to talk about here. Or with this movie, I could go on and on and on, but I'm kind of on a time limit of about 30 minutes. But thankfully, we're still pretty early on. But uh, oh, what? And I also want to talk about the characters and everything, and how they are you can tell, like I said, and I mentioned this earlier, how they are actors being actors, and you can see that. But you can also see the more seasoned ones that are around Truman more often, such as his wife Meryl and his friend Marlon. And Marlon tries to cover up a bit more. He does a better job of it than Meryl. He's a lot more subtle and everything when it comes to like covering up the lies, and then trying to reassure Truman that his life is real life and product placement, which of course is a TV show. And Christoph explains that the product placements and everything is how they keep the show running. And well, one of the ways they keep the show running is through product placements and advertisements and things like that. And Marlon is a bit more subtle about it, although I guess that can be attributed to the fact that the only thing he really has to advertise and sell is beer. But yeah, so he's a bit more subtle with it, and but then, of course, as they're looking for Truman, you see his true colors, how he's just concerned about finding Truman and keeping him there. And it feels like nobody really cares genuinely about Truman except for Sylvia, which definitely speaks to the narrative, how everything is false and that Truman is essentially just a prop. He's the main character, but he's just that. They see him pretty much as a character and not as a human being, and that's where the whole debate comes in about them not treating Truman as a human being. But I could go on because, that's like I said, absolutely big fan of this movie. I can't talk enough about how much I love this movie. It's so smart and so intelligent, and it's such a fantastic movie. In terms of like kind of suggestion, like what I would have done differently, is the is in the mid and like towards the end of the movie, as things are wrapping up and the movie's wrapping up, they explain like the whole origins of the Truman Show, how he was born, and that they pretty much raised him on set and everything. We get a little bit of that in the beginning, but they really go into more detail about uh, all the uh, all the logistics of it. It towards the middle of the movie, and uh, Kristoff is confronted over the phone by Sylvia, and we get that scene. That scene, I kind of would have liked to seen at the beginning. You could take out that kind of early part, or where he kind of already set it up a little bit, and then put this at the front of the movie. I think having the explanation of, oh, this is how it happened, and oh, now he's in a TV show, and then let it unfold from there. Now, this could be just me, and it probably is a case of maybe the movie's better because it didn't do it like this. But I don't know. I think that would have been interesting to see them do it that way, and I think the flow would have been a little bit better because Truman, right before the whole explanation scene, just reunited with his dad, who they decided, you know what, he already snuck on set. Truman already saw him. We might as well just reintroduce him as the character and everything. And then they get into the explanation. It kind of like puts the narrative to a halt, then just to backtrack and then bring everything back forward. And they can't really do it like that. I don't really think it paid off that well that way. It's still a fantastic movie, and honestly, it's really not enough to bother me. But I probably would have put that part at the beginning. But maybe that's just me. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. I am done gushing about this movie. Yeah, I've pretty much spent almost 20 minutes gushing about it. But I absolutely love this movie. It's such a fantastic movie. One of Jim Carrey's best works, honestly. One of my favorite movies, one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies, one of my favorite everything. I absolutely adore this movie. But without further ado, thank you all so much for watching. Uh, and if you want to check out this movie, it's on HBO Max, and it's also technically on Hulu, but you need the HBO Max add-on to watch it anyway. Hey, so you might as well just watch it on HBO Max. But be that as it may, hey, check out this movie if you haven't already. And if you have seen this movie before, watch it again because it is that good. System Shock Radio and Tales from the Labyrinth will be coming out later on tonight. They will be going up pretty late. I didn't get to recording until pretty late. I do apologize, but that's going to be up tonight. Sasha Banks vs. Bailey at NXT TakeOver Spec should be up by tomorrow. Oh, and on Sunday will be the next System Shock Radio and Tales from the Labyrinth. Those will also be pre-recorded, and I'll try to be live for episodes 75 and 30, if I'm not mistaken, of Tales from the Labyrinth. Man, it's crazy to think we're at 30 episodes already, but I'll try to be live for those. And I want to do something interesting for episode 75, but I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet for that. I will be live starting Monday on Twitch. We'll be streaming Detroit Become Human, and so come join me for that. Follow me on Twitch at the Ndiddy. That's THWE_Ndiddy. And then next week, on Wednesday, because it's the end of the month, we're gonna do our crime analysis, and this time we're gonna look at Selena, the singer, and everything, and the crime surrounding what happened to her. Very tragic tale, but learn more about that as we get to it. But uh, for the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it with your friends, and I will see you guys later. Peace.